All right, we are coming back with breaking news this morning. Former Vice President Dick Cheney, he has died. In a statement, his family said Cheney died overnight from complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. He served under President George W. Bush from 2001 until 2009. He was 84 years old. Richard B. Cheney, the 46th Vice President of the United States, died last night again. This was November 3rd, 2025, 84 years old. His beloved wife of 61 years, his daughters and other family members, they were with him as he passed. Again, the former vice president has died. All right, we're going to bring in Blake Berman. He has more on this, more insight for us. And I believe we have Mike Vaquera on the line. Is that right, Blake?
We do. Kelly, you know, we started this morning with all the excitement that comes with an election day. And now all of a sudden in the world of politics, it turns to a somber note with the news of the passing of the former Vice President Dick Cheney. Our bureau chief here in Washington is Mike Vaquera, joining us live on the phone. Vic, good morning. Nice to speak with you. Not under these circumstances, though, obviously. A somber one right now. When you think of Dick Cheney, 84 years old, and what a life in the political world he lived, was a chief of staff to Ford, a vice president to W. Bush, and a lot of responsibility in between.
And a Secretary of Defense during a major operation, the first invasion of Iraq in the early 90s under George H.W. Bush, Operation Desert Storm. Yeah, you put your finger on it, Blake. An extraordinary American political career, a conservative, at least in the establishment terms, what we consider now to be an establishment conservative, had served in Congress, had served in the administration, had served in the cabinet, an influential and certainly a controversial voice as Vice President of the United States. He was born in Nebraska. He, of course, was from Wyoming. He became the congressman from Wyoming, but not before he rose, as you pointed out, in the White House to be Gerald Ford's chief of staff in the 70s during Gerald Ford's brief term in the White House as well. Then became the congressman from Wyoming. Of course, that's an at-large district. He represented the entire state. Because of the small population of Wyoming, rose to be the whip, the Republican whip in the House of Representatives, which would have been at the time, because Republicans were in the minority, the second highest ranking within the House of Representatives. Became then the Secretary of Defense during that war after Saddam Hussein had invaded Kuwait. George H.W. Bush leading Operation Desert Storm. Dick Cheney, a presence on television and at the Pentagon every single day during that operation, which was deemed a large success. And recall at the end of that, he was opposed to sweeping north into Baghdad to try to take out Saddam Hussein himself. Then went into private business, a key role at Halliburton, some of the more traditional roles within Washington for someone of his stature at the Council of Foreign Relations and other think tanks that led by conservatives, the American Enterprise Institute. And then if you recall, if many of us will recall anyway, during the campaign, in the 2000 campaign, when the son of the man that he served as President and Secretary of Defense, George W. Bush, was nominated, Dick Cheney led the committee to choose a vice president.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, Dick Cheney became the selection in a surprise to be George W. Bush's running mate. And, of course, they won in that very closely contested election that was only decided by the Supreme Court in the obviously famous case Bush versus Gore. And then the second invasion of Iraq, when Dick Cheney, as vice president, was a voice that advocated this time for the removal of Saddam Hussein, pushing the narrative we now know to be incorrect of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So we know that he had a controversial run. We know that he was considered an icon of conservatism. We also know his health problems were chronic in terms of the cardiac problems. He'd been hospitalized with serious heart problems several times over the past several years. But now, finally, at this moment, passing with his family by his side just outside Washington, McLean, Virginia. Wait.
Yep, wife